course, there's a big caucus tomorrow. All the voting happens. This race for the 2012 GOP presidential nomination.
And we're going to begin this hour this morning with the man who has been called the kingmaker of Iowa politics.
He's also the leader of the state's Tea Party Caucus, and so we want to bring in Republican Congressman Steve King. Congressman, good to see you.
Good morning. I love it here in this beautiful library. I'm glad you picked this spot to show off a little of Iowa.
Well, thank you for having us here in Des Moines. It's beautiful here in the state capitol. And let me ask you about your endorsement. Many of the Republicans here have courted your endorsement. It could be very influential in tomorrow's voting. Who will you endorse?
I have not made that decision, and
it's getting a little bit late.
It is getting late. No doubt about it. It's in hours rather than days. And when I first stepped into this, we set up a plan January 6th of last year, almost a year ago, on how to go forward on this to accelerate the caucus process. We held a presidential event March 26th here in Des Moines. It was very successful. Went to New Hampshire and joined Jennifer Horn there, Jim DeMint and I. We went on to South Carolina. I thought by September or October I would have reached a conviction. I've not reached that conviction this morning.
Well, let me ask you, because Bob and I were talking about this. I mean, you have the governor of this state, Tara Branstad, a Republican, has not decided. We're going to talk to him in a minute. You, Congressman, have not decided who to endorse. Senator Chuck Grassley, who's very influential here as well, has not decided to endorse. What's wrong? Do you not like Mitt Romney? Why not commit to Mitt Romney? Well, he's at the top of the polls.
I think we like all of these candidates, and that's part of it. And you know, as I look at this, Rick Santorum has worked this state so hard, and I believe he will be rewarded tomorrow night for that work. Michelle Bachmann is a very close friend. We agree across the board on approach. There's more that I would do that she hasn't endorsed, but we agree across the board on what she does endorse. And then if we look at Rick Perry, he comes as an executive from a state perspective. I would say the one place where I do disagree is even though I congratulate Ron Paul for all that he's done for sound money, constitutionalism, fiscal responsibility, and he's energized our campuses, his foreign policy concerns me a lot. The idea of moving all of our military back to the shores of the United States would create a power vacuum on this globe that we could never recover from.
Do you think that in the end he might run as a third-party candidate? There's been some talk of that.
Well, it's a possibility as a libertarian he might enter in and do that. He's never said no to that. He's talked around the subject. He's been point blanked a number of times, but he's never said no to that. And I am concerned about that too. If we have and he would be a very strong libertarian candidate. If that's the case, I think that Barack Obama would be delighted at such a move, and I would hope that Ron Paul, I know he understands that.
Why is it that, I mean, I know Michelle Bachmann is not just a close personal friend of yours, but you really are ideological soulmates, as it
Pretty
were.
close we are.
Most people thought that you would go ahead and go with her. Is it the fact, do you think she just maybe can't be elected or doesn't have the electability ability that, say, Romney has or one of the others?
I would mention that Tom Tancredo is a very close friend, and I didn't endorse him 4 years ago here in Iowa. We are still close friends today, and I have not made a final decision on this, but in her case and in everybody's case, this race isn't just pick the best person to be the next president of the United States, who's the best combination of nature and nurture, and set them in the Oval Office. It's select these candidates or encourage them to run, put them through the crucible of this process. I mean, it is a gauntlet to run for president, and the intense part of the gauntlet's here in Iowa, and it shapes the presidents. They develop themselves. It's a fundraising, public persona, and a stamina race. Do you have the stamina to do all this? And then,
are you going to endorse eventually,
at this point,
not?
I will say this, there's a maybe not there. And each hour that goes by, the prospects get to be less and less. This would be the optimum time if a person were going to do so, at least within this week, this morning, right here, or someplace else. And I'm not prepared to do that. And I was hopeful I'd wake up this morning with a conviction. I do have some strong convictions. I want to repeal Obamacare. I want 100% repeal of Obamacare. If out of Iowa we can lock that in, that's a pretty good accomplishment. And there are other pieces along this way too. But I'm not satisfied that any of the candidates have convinced Iowans or Americans yet that they understand the depth of the economic crisis that we're in, how we fix that problem, what the pieces that we can put in place, when we pay off the first net dollar on our national debt. And then the other component is the picture for the destiny of America. Ronald Reagan painted it. I'm not hearing it here yet.
All right.
All right. Congressman Steve
Thank you
King,
so much.
thanks so much.